Kylie, you are a hypnobirth instructor, you teach baby massage, and you also are a Reiki healer. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. So thank you.
So, for those who don't know hypnobirthing, what is it?
Basically, it's more of like a philosophy as it is a technique. Basically, we believe that birth is not a medical event. We help to promote relaxation during birth so that the birthing mother is nice and relaxed. We believe that all babies should also come into the world in a nice, calm and safe manner. So it's just really promoting all that like relaxation, calmness, and yes, we do this through lots of different techniques of hypnosis and also just like education as well. So it's really bringing women back to knowing that for them to birth instinctively, to know them that like to help them be aware, of their body's own natural abilities to birth their babies. So yeah, so that's it in a nutshell.
So, what led you to wanting to teach it?
So it's my own birth with my son Xander. When I got pregnant with Xander, I just didn't have a clue about anything. And one of my best friends was like, "Oh, have you heard of hypnobirthing before?" And I was like, "No, like, what the heck is that?" And I think you kind of go into that weird like hypnobirthing. I was like, "Oh, it sounds a bit strange for me." And I'm definitely not the same person I was before I got pregnant with Xander. So I feel like pregnant Kylie is a completely different person to the Kylie now. But yes, so my friend was like, honestly, it's amazing. It really helped me with my birth with my daughter. Like, I think you should really look into it. So it's like, absolutely, I'm looking into anything. And it just sounded amazing. It sounded really good because I was really nervous about birth. I didn't know anything about. I knew, obviously, yeah, women give birth, but like, how do they? Like I didn't know how the uterus worked. I didn't know anything. So I invested in this hypnobirthing course. So it's the original hypnobirthing that I teach and the one that I did. It's like the Monga method, they call it. And this course is over like 5 weeks. So I had a woman, a hypnobirth educator, come to my house. And yeah, it was like 5 weeks, and we learned like hypnosises, relaxations. I learned how to do affirmations, just everything, the whole like nutrition, like the golden hour after like birth. Like I didn't realize how important all that was. So it was amazing. So I did then my hypnobirthing classes and practiced, like implemented what I learned. And there was a few of us that were pregnant at the same time. And basically, out of the women that I know, I was the one that got the birth that I wanted. Like I went in there and I managed to advocate for myself. I went in with confidence. I had the birth that I wanted in my head. I envisioned it. And I remember there was a few of us all wanted to be in this like birth pool. And yeah, I was the only one that ended up in the birth pool. And I just ended up getting the most, yeah, amazing birth with Lander. I really enjoyed it. I felt really empowered. And yeah, I really feel like it was down to hypnobirthing. And I remember it was couple of weeks actually into my hypnobirthing classes that I was getting. And as soon as the woman was there, I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, she just really helped me, like she was there. She helped understand like any fears that I had that were coming up. She just gave me ways to help deal with them. And it was just really good to have that support. And I just remember thinking, I was like, I really want to do this. And then after having my birth with Xander, and the student midwife said to me, she goes, "You don't see births like that anymore." And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Okay." And I just felt, and then hearing my friends' stories of their births that they had, I was like, it doesn't have to be that way. Like, and it made me feel kind of sorry for other women who weren't getting to experience the birth that I had, And I was just like, yeah, I just felt, yeah, I really wanted to help just help women feel more empowered by their birth and just have more positive experiences. So yes, that's what led me to it. So yeah, it was good, and it was the best investment I ever made. I actually went and got like a second-hand pram and spent more of my money in like my hypnobirth course, because that to me that was like that's what I can take away from life, and it was such a good investment as well because now it's what I do for my work. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
investing into birth is such a underestimated life expense, isn't it? Like we
absolutely,
invested quite a lot of
absolutely.
money into Ziggy's birth, and it was the best thing, but it's definitely not understood by the
No.
majority. But yeah, if someone listening wants to do the hypnobirthing course, but they're a little bit not sure about what it would look like, Can you summarize so they can have a better understanding before they go into
Yeah,
it?
yeah, absolutely. So again, with I kind of say with like the hypnobirthing, we believe as well that like birth is like one of the most spiritual journeys for a mother. So it's really like as if we're taking this family, like birthing couple, on a journey. So we will start in like the first week, and we'll really go through like debunk like all these myths about birth. Like we've been so programmed into thinking like birth is horrendous. We see it all over the TV. We've just been programmed to fear birth. So it's really about helping debunk that and just really helping the woman reprogram her brain, so to speak. So we really go into that subconscious mind. So, the first week we will talk about birth, how they feel about birth, what their expectations are. We'll go through some nice hypnobirthing videos to show them like what birth can really look like. And through the weeks we do lots of practicing of like, as I said, like hypnosis, relaxation techniques. We'll go through different positions for birth. We will go through birth preferences, where they're like where they're choosing to birth, say it's like the hospital, like the procedures of like, like birth preferences, what they can decline, what they can ask for. And we really help the birth partner as well be an integral part of the birth process. So they're not just like this bystander in the corner not doing anything. We really help them with the tools and techniques as well. So they're really an integral part of that birth process. I always say that they are like the guardian of the birth space. So that's their job there. So they're not just like sitting back being like, what do I do? They're really, really involved, be it doing massages, acupressure points, just really helping the women. We'll go through like nutrition and what women should be eating, like just healthy diets, like just making sure they're getting all the everything that they need. We'll go through like different like exercises, like like your walking, just how to really keep healthy like throughout their pregnancy. And then we'll talk about like the golden hour and like the fourth trimester, so to speak. So just that time after that period of time once they've given birth, and how important it is to have that time together and basically the importance of skin to skin. We'll also talk about breastfeeding. Like it's really a complex course and it's just so much information. But I really see it as like a journey. It's not just like speaking for like I guess myself, I'm not the same woman that I was at the start of my hypnobirthing course to what I was at the end. I went from feeling fearful and scared to going in there and feeling confident and empowered and just completely surrendering and trusting my body like I should. And just I was amazed. Like I feel like we don't realize how powerful us as women are. Like we're just not taught any of this stuff. So I felt like it was just, I really love seeing couples feel really empowered and feeling confident towards their birth. I love that's like my favorite part. I love it.
We did it, and you learn so much, but you also unlearn a lot and also
Yes.
kind of go back in time a bit and just trust. Like I loved the learning of it, but I felt there was actually more unlearning to do when we did
Absolutely.
our hypnobirthing.
Absolutely. Because we're just so, I just feel these days we're just so programmed and it's like you go through, I don't know, but even like in schools, you're not really taught any of this stuff. I mean, like in my school, it was just like basically don't get pregnant. Here's how to put a condom on a banana. And yeah, that's it. Don't get pregnant and tell us something about chlamydia. Like there was, do you know what I mean? There was nothing to say, hey, do you know, like you've got this, like, I never knew until like I did hypnobirthing about like the natural expulsive reflex. So there's this part of our body in that second phase of labor where like our body takes over and it helps like works with the body and with your breathing and things and it helps expel the baby naturally. So you're not having to push unnecessarily. Do you know what I mean? Like you're working with your body and like breathing your baby out. So I didn't know we had that part. I didn't know there was like gifts from our body of, like time distortion. I didn't know anything how my uterus worked during birth. I didn't know any of these things. I didn't know how my own body as a woman, how it worked in birth. And yeah, I feel like again, like you're unlearning things from the system as well. Like it really helps you feel empowered. We've always kind of been this kind of be this good girl, like go in there, be the good girl, do as the doctors say, do as the nurses say, when really you need to go in there and be like a badass and start speaking up for yourself and know that you are like a motherfucking goddess. And yeah, like that's what we were meant to do, you know? Like that is it. And just be empowered. And that is what birth is all about. It's a rite of passage for women. It should be something that is celebrated. It should be something that's feared. Absolutely not. Not at all.
Amen,
Yeah.
sister. So, how does hypnobirthing differ from traditional childbirth education?
So with traditional childbirth education, I feel like it's more seeing like I don't know, like maybe like the midwives and they're showing this is what happens when you come into the hospital. This is all the different forms of, you know, like pain relief you'll receive. You normally see a woman lying on her back screaming. I know like that's been a lot of like the feedback that I've had from clients. They're like, this education, like it's so much, hypnobirthing is so different from what we see at the hospital. I feel like we show more empowering birth videos. I just like that birth doesn't need to be feared. So women in a more relaxed state, moving into different positions rather than being lying on her back screaming, which is in most, you know, like most births, like the standard education that you get maybe at the hospitals from your midwives. It really helps like us retrain, like so really going into our subconscious, sorry. So basically really taking out any old limiting beliefs, any like fears, any just negative like programming in there, and we go into that subconscious mind and we really help like reprogram it. So we're really helping, yeah, the birthing couple just like relearn how to work like with their brain so it's not how to explain it more. We're really going in there and yeah, removing anything negative and helping just reframe everything to look at birth into a different way. So it absolutely differs from just like the standard of like, here's what happens when you go into the hospital. Um, Also things that you can say no to, like what you can decline. So we really look into like how you don't need to take any all the inductions that they may offer you, and just really giving you like lots of different information on what you can and like what you can say when you go into the hospitals as well. So it's more of like a journey, yeah, more of a journey than just here's a couple of days, here's some videos, here's what happens when your cervix, you know, like dilates. Like it's just more, I feel like it's more empowering and more like on a well, yeah, just working with the subconscious mind rather than just your normal standard birth education.
From your knowledge in birth, when and how did birth become so medicalized?
So when we look at like the history of birth and we talk about, you know, like we say like free birth. Free birth is birth, you know? And when we look back into history, women were always birthing like at home, surrounded by, you know, like female members of the family. Like it was something that was really celebrated. You know, we talk about things like, you know, like going back to like the Red Tent, and it was just, yeah, it was something that was really celebrated. And birth was, yeah, like free birth. That was, you know, that's birth. And then it's, we say, look back, it's around about the time of Queen Victoria. So I think it was 1853. And Queen Victoria, when she had her eighth child, she introduced like anesthesia, so it was like this chloroform. So it was very, very much talked about. It was almost like, oh wow, like this was like the new in thing because like Queen Victoria had it. So it was really talked about. And in that like high class society, everyone was like they could afford to, you know, like go into the hospitals and they would start having this like chloroform, and it was like a pain relief, like, oh, you won't remember, you know, you'll go through birth and everything will be amazing. And then what happened is basically more and more women started going into the hospital system. And when you think about back then as well, like the hospitals weren't as clean, they weren't as sanitary. So what was happening is you were getting a lot of these doctors who were going around from like birthing women to like dead bodies. Like there was no sanitary condition whatsoever, and lots of women were actually dying in the hospital. But this wasn't due to childbirth. This was due to how filthy, you know, like the hospitals were. So again, that's where we have this fear that, oh, childbirth means death. You know, like there was a scary part, and it wasn't. It was basically because the unsanitary conditions. So then that kind of went, more people then were birthing, less people were birthing at home then, sorry, and they were birthing in the hospitals. So it really became more medicalised, I would say, round about then. Like it was just that's when it really started to infiltrate and more women started to birth, yeah, like birth in hospitals. And then we can, oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to touch more on the if they're now got chloroform, I'm imagining so now they're getting laid on their back to have the
Yeah,
chloroform. And then
yeah,
so I'm wondering what's then the cause and effect from that happening?
of course, yes. So then you have like these women that they're like completely like away with it. They're lying on their back. So then you've got more instrumental yeah, interventions then as well. So you've got these women who are compos mentis, they're not with it. You're going to start then getting them lying on their back, which we know is not the position for lying to be giving birth anyway. You also have, so at the bottom of your back, look at your sacrum, there's actually a part of your back that moves out and moves, and this allows the baby to come down more naturally and more with ease. So if you're lying on your back, that is not the best way, like to birth. You need to be like leaning, like you need to be up, leaning forward, having gravity help, like helping the baby come down. So when you're lying on your back and you're struggling, of course you're going to have more intervention then. So you're going to have like the forceps, the episiotomies, everything. And that's where it's horrendous really when you think about it. It's just like, it's not the way birth should be. It was never meant to be like that. That's not what was meant to happen. And yeah, we've completely lost sight of what we should be doing, how we should really be birthing. It should we believe as well, like in hypnobirthing, birth isn't a medical event. Now, yes, absolutely, when we need, like for if there's an emergency, absolutely, like the medical system is there to help us. But genuinely, like generally, when you are a healthy woman with a healthy baby, there shouldn't be any need for this medical intervention at all. And it's really just been, I feel like, since then. Yeah. Yep.
How do you think that's playing a role into today's society, going from part before 1953 to now? What do you think the cause and effect has been from birth becoming in hospital?
Well, like I feel like the cause and effect is like more women like being traumatized by their births. 1 in 3 women experience post-traumatic stress from their birth, and it correlates with the fact that now that 97% of women choose to birth in hospitals. So you've got 97% of women who are choosing to birth in hospitals. You've got point, I think it's point, yeah, and 0.6% of women are like choosing to birth at home as well. And then you've got the other 2% there, they're birthing in birth centres. So it's like, yeah, not actual the hospitals, like the birth centres. So you've got to look at it in that way. It's like if ever more women are birthing in hospitals, but this rise in post-traumatic stress, like that's not right. Women should not be experiencing that at all. So there's absolutely like a correlation there. So yeah, and there's also in Australia, there's a 77% increase in cesarean C-section rates in the past 20 years as well. So are you saying now that, like 77% more of women need C-sections? I don't think so. Yeah. We've completely lost way of, yeah, nature, I feel.
Okay, so let's go into this further because I know that every mum I've ever spoken to that's been told that they've needed an intervention, they have come out believing it, majority of them. Like, the doctor said, this is wrong with the baby, so I need it, or we need to do this induction because something's not working, or whatever. So, how do you think we can help women be stronger in turning down what a professional that's been in university and studied for years on end, knows all the correct terminology, knows all these big intimidating words, how can we get them to feel more confident in declining? Because that's actually where it stems from, right?
Yeah. Yep, it's declining, and it's just again, it's just getting away from this like I keep on saying like this good girl, but we've always been led to believe, yeah, that we should be listening to them, right? Do you know what I mean? Like these medical professionals. And as you say, they've been to university, they've done the training. At the end of the day, and I will say this to everyone, every woman that I like um teach hypnobirthing or like speak to, I'm like, nobody knows your body or your baby better than you. Doesn't matter if they're a professional. When you've got that mother, that instinct, nobody knows your baby or you better than yourself. Like it's really honing in and just really getting back to trusting and surrendering and just trusting your body. We've been so disattached from everything. And I just feel like even going to like, I'm kind of going a bit off topic here, but like even like our periods, we've been taught to like kind of shut them out, shun them, like go on the pill, like so we don't have your periods. There's all these things about how we've been programmed. So it's really, again, going in and unlearning all of that and really honing in and going back to like our natural, like our natural abilities of women. So I would say for someone who is a woman who is pregnant, and how do they start like advocating for themselves? Education and like, like hypnobirthing. Even if you're not planning a free birth, I always encourage every woman to listen to free birthing stories, free birthing podcasts. These women are like incredible. And it's just like, so even if you're choosing to have a C-section, even if you're choosing to birth in hospital, whichever, it doesn't need to be a free birth. Still listen to these free birth podcasts and read books. Surround yourself with women who have had positive births as well, and to make you feel empowered. Because as I said, birth should not be feared, and nobody knows your body or your baby better than yourself. It doesn't matter if they're a medical professional or not. I remember, again, going back to me with Xander, I had like a thyroid issue, so I was obstetrician led. But even though like I had the thyroid, it was in control, like stabilized the whole way throughout my pregnancy, I was still OB led. And I remember going into for one of my appointments, and he was like, right, so and I'm nearly 6 foot, I'm like 5'10", so I'm like tall. And he was like, yep, you're going to have this big baby, and you are probably going to have to induce you at 38 weeks. And then we're probably going to have to use forceps. And then there's probably going to be quite a lot of blood. There's that problem with like hemorrhaging and everything like that. So, yep, need to get you in and like induce you at 38 weeks. And I was like, whoa, what? I was like, why? He's like, you're probably going to have a big baby. And I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't understand. And he couldn't even really give me like do you know what I mean, like the proper answers. And I just remember at first I was like really scared, and I was like, I got like upset. And then I was like, hold on a second. I was like, do I have to be induced at 38 weeks? He's like, oh, no, 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 absolutely not. No, you don't need to be at all. And I was like, okay, well, I think we'll just leave it then. But I was thinking, and I was about 26, 27 weeks then as well. So again, if I'd not done my hypnobirthing classes, right, I'd have gone in there and I'd have been like, oh my God, I need to get induced at 38 weeks. Oh my gosh, we're going to have to use forceps. Oh my gosh, I'm probably going to have like a hemorrhage. All these things because the medical system told me that that was what was going to be best for me. They're not interested in what's best for the individual person. You are just a number to them. I'm sorry, like there's no care factor in that. You are a number, and they are more bound by the policies of their hospital where they work rather than what's best for you as an individual. They're not bothered about you or the outcomes of you and your baby. You are just a number, tick, tick, and that's it. So yeah, it's really standing up and finding your power as well. And it's liberating too. Like I felt amazing. I was like, yeah, you can like get fucked. I'm not coming in at 38 weeks and getting induced. So, but it's finding that, like that power. And that took a lot for me as well. But yeah, to just being able to stand up for yourself. And it's a shame that you have to fight for the birth that you want. It's not, I mean, I love being able to like help couples, but I mean, it's a pretty sad state of affairs when you have to go in there and you have to fight to have the birth that you want, that's, you know, best for you and your baby.
I know home birth and free birth like isn't for everybody, but this I guess what leads me back to me being such a strong advocate for women to look into birthing at home and outside the system, because I just don't know why anyone would want to still have to go into a place I have to advocate for, because you're going in fighting. And I just don't see how a woman, like for me, I've only birthed at home, but I cannot even imagine in that birthing process having to worry about who's around me, like the strangers, the noises. Like you hear and feel everything. You're like, the best way that I always describe how I feel like birth is like you're not on this planet. Like it's such a spiritual journey. It's such an out of body experience. And I cannot imagine feeling like you're thinking, are they going to do this to me? Are they going to do that? And I had a midwife on the who has deregistered herself from a midwife on the podcast on the weekend. So I'll be probably releasing this podcast a week or so after her. So if people are listening in consecutive, it'd be really good because she she was talking about like the episiotomies, for example. She's like, I've never seen an episiotomy done that's necessary, and they are traumatizing. And so she's left the system and deregistered herself because she was like, I just don't agree with this. Um, and like again, I said this in my last one. I actually left the last podcast with this midwife crying, and I had to sit on the ground. I just had to bawl my eyes out because my heart broke for women who have been raped in the system and then being told, oh, but it was to save your baby while they're lying on their back after they've had a shitload of drugs pumped into their body, and then they're saying the body's heart rate, and it's like, well, one, you're lying on your back, and then two, your body and your baby's pumped full of all these drugs. Three,
Yeah.
all of the natural hormones that are supposed to be released throughout your body aren't being released, and then women are, then not feeling a connection to their baby, or they're having postnatal depression, or they're not having their milk come through, or their milk's coming through and then drying up, and then there's no correlation to what happened in birth. It's just, again, comes back to my clown world series because it
Yeah.
just does not make sense.
It doesn't make sense. And it is, and you're right, it's like this traumas. Women, we shouldn't be having 1 in 3 women experiencing traumatic births. And I swear, like, I feel like that number's even going up, honestly. Like, and I feel, but with more women birthing in hospitals, like, I'd love to see more. And again, like, more women birthing at home. Like, I know for me, like, if we're lucky enough to have another baby, I will absolutely be birthing at home. I will not be birthing in the hospital. And that is just because it's where, like, you feel safe. And looking into things like what you've just said there, exactly. You're transcending. You're in this different, completely different place. You should be worried about people coming up and basically, like cutting you, like cutting you, like getting things injected into you that you're not like don't even know what they're doing. I mean, they're stabbing into you, having people coming into your room, the loud noises. I've heard stories about women being given birth and the midwife actually telling them to be quiet. You're making too much noise. You're scaring the person next door. Like, imagine people saying, like these things like to you, or like when they've been like induced and they're saying like this is too much, like these contractions, these surges, they're coming too close together. No, they're not. They're fine. And then that goes, they're experiencing even more the cascade of interventions even more then because they're not being listened to. So again, it doesn't matter if this person's a medical person, like nobody knows your body better than you. So it's like you're having to fight every inch of the way. And when you're giving birth, you should be in peace. You should be feeling safe. You should be in a safe environment and you should be giving birth, yeah, in a safe space. And then they wonder like, oh, you're not progressing along well enough, or no wonder they've got that fear, tension, pain, no wonder everything stops because they're in fight or flight. There's no oxytocin going circulating round, they can't relax because they're feeling threat. That's what it is. It's their natural instincts and they're feeling threatened. And then they're coming in, all this cascade of intervention because of what's been implemented. And then it's like, oh yeah, we saved your baby. Oh, thank goodness I was at the hospital. Thank goodness I was at the hospital because they saved me and my baby.
How does the mind influence the body during labor and birth?
So with your mind, I believe that 90% of birth is your mind. Okay. So like you are in there and we have this theory of like, like your body is not a robot. So your mind, your brain is experiencing everything before your body does. Okay. Your mind is telling your body like what to do. So you've got these parts of your brain, okay? So you've got like your neocortex part of your brain, which is like there for like your analytical thinking, like your everyday stuff. So that lowers during birth, okay? Because then you're more into like your primal state. And then you've got your anterior cingulate cortex, okay? So that's like it's like your pain perception and how your body feels pain. So during birth, these two they can't both be on at the same time. So birth kind of triggers these and how they work together. So this controls the rest of your body. So when you're in this like fight or flight part, when you're feeling like scared, when you're feeling under threat, that then controls the rest of your body to completely tense up. Okay. And then it can stop this circular of like oxytocin flowing. And then that really, they say like, like stalls birth. So then your body is not able to relax and birth to unfold like naturally as it should. So when you're doing like say like tools from like hypnobirthing, we get in there into that subconscious mind that really helps you there to relax, and then for your body to really be able to birth naturally. So then everything's like relaxing. So when we're relaxed, everything is more smoother. The baby transcends more easier. We're not this like tense up way. When we're relaxed, we're breathing deeper when we're doing our breathing techniques. So more oxygen is going around our body. So that then is giving more oxygen to the uterus when that's enabling it to work correctly, and that's enabling to help the baby come down and then be born as well. So it's really helping that, like that oxygen and circulating around our body and just helping us really come into this like primal place and being able to give birth to our babies. Yep.
Can you share how hypnobirthing tools help reduce fear and pain during birth?
Yep, absolutely. So we've got these parts of our brain. So it's not really so much of our brain, sorry, it's like our nervous system, okay? So we've got like our parasympathetic sphere. So this is our nervous system here. So it's like with our like it's our happy, we call it the healing room. So that's like when we were in our happy place. And then we've got our sympathetic sphere. So that's like our nervous system where it's again that like fight or flight system. So when we're doing hypnobirthing and through the techniques in hypnobirthing, we're really sitting in this parasympathetic sphere. So when we go in to do like our deep hypnosises, we're like in a birth hypnosis is in a state where we are really relaxed and we are focused and we are just like birthing easily. So again, it brings us back to that like that relaxation and just being able to not feel scared and just feel really empowered, relaxed. And it just really helps us surrender to what our body's doing rather than fighting against it. So it's when we bring in things like our breathing techniques as well. So we teach different techniques of breathing, like for different parts of our labor. So we'll do like our calm breath to really, like help us feel calm and relaxed. And then we'll do like our surge breathing, which really helps like increase that oxygen levels throughout our blood and everything again. And it's deep, really deep, deep breaths that really help. Not shallow. We don't want shallow breaths because when we're like and we're scared and we're tensed, not enough oxygen is getting to our uterus or our baby. And then we have our the last part of the breathing, which is our birth breathing, and that really helps us work with our body with that natural expulsive reflex. So then we're not counterproductive pushing. So we're working with our body. So when we feel that, you felt that as well, that second part of labor when our body is taking over, we can learn to breathe and help with breathe our baby out. So this is better. So rather than having that coached pushing, from the midwives or that purple pushing, and then we're doing then more damage to like our pelvic floor and everything like that. And then we're more knackered, like have used up way more energy than we need to, than we would have if we'd done like our birth breathing and everything. And it just really helps like hypnobirthing helps shorten the women's time of labor as well, and it helps them to be more energized by the end. So they've got more energy like towards the end of their birth. And then that then again helps with like the oxytocin and everything and what we need as well to birth lab placenta too.
So, what role do you think fear then plays into how we experience labour and birth?
Fear, like so much. I feel like when we're fearful, and again, we talk about this like completely removing fear. Like we're human beings. We're not, we of course there's going to be that sense of fear. There absolutely is. And I feel as well, it doesn't matter if you've birthed once, haven't birthed at all, or you've birthed like 10 times. You're still going to have that little bit of fear going into your birth. But it's not an overpowering sense of fear, but there's still that tiny bit. Like we're humans, It's this, we don't know what's going to happen, Like we don't really know like what is. We can't see everything. So we kind of have to surrender to that like sense of control. And if we're feeling fearful like far too much, like it's taken over everything, it really plays this huge part, sorry, in labour because everything just tenses up. As I said, it's just like we lose control completely. And I think we go to this place that we don't want to obviously go to where we lose control. And we don't have, we're not surrendering to our body and like feeling, we're just kind of go into a place that we don't want to go to. Everything, because yeah, we lose control in it, and yeah, it completely like takes over, and it's not a place that we want to go to. So with hypnobirthing again, learning these like hypnosises, learning our calm breaths, practicing our affirmations, that really helps release any fear that we may have. We also have like a fear release exercise that we do in hypnobirthing, and it can be quite confronting for the couples. But that's what we need to do. It's like this, yeah, the fear release exercise, and it's bringing up all our fears. I ask the couples to write everything down. You write everything that you're fearful about birth, everything that is like triggering you, that is worrying you, write it down. And I really ask people to sit with it and see where it's coming from. Is it fears from them? Is it fears that has been passed on from society, from family, from friends? Like, where are these fears stemming from? Are they ours? Are they stories that they've been told? Is it from our own births, like our mothers have had with us? Where is it coming from? And then what we do is we have them write them down, and we do this exercise where we do this full deep hypnosis, and it really helps release these fears by processing them, and then just slowly just dissipating them and releasing them. And I practice this exercise a lot with my hypnobirthing couples, and it really, really helps them to relax and just get rid of as much fear as possible. I'm not going to say it helps you get rid of all fear. Absolutely not, because as I said, we're humans, but it absolutely helps with getting rid of the majority of it. And I also say as well for them to like write all their fears down and then burn it all, and it's really cathartic in that way as well. But yeah, like going back to the question, like fear does have a huge amount, because yeah, it can really take over. It can go from when we're fearful, your baby's still going to be born, like you're still going to give birth even though you're fearful, but it's how you experience it. It can really end up being like a traumatic event if you felt fear your whole way through that your labor. It's not a good place to be. It's not a place that women should be either. We should have the help to release those fears. Absolutely.
I don't want to take over too much of your time, but it just takes me back to even having Sage. Like when I was pregnant with Ziggy, there was absolutely no fear. There was no fear to home birth. There was no fear whatsoever. Even when she came early, naturally, 4 weeks early, I was just like, yep, nah, I've got this. Like she's going to be born exactly the date she's supposed to, and da da da. And and honestly, like I know I haven't told this story on this podcast yet, and I will get to it, but I've had conversations with people like, and I was like, I know at that time there was no fear. I knew she was okay. And I knew, yep, cool. If anything's up, we'll take us just straight to hospital. But when I had Sage, from before conceiving Sage, I had fear present about I knew that I would be not having anything. So everything that came up from about Ziggy's was coming up in Sage's. And I
Yeah.
met this lady, and I was at a Granny Nature play group, and she she had free birth, and I didn't know her, and I didn't know that she had free birth before. And I was talking to my friends. I was talking to like Nat and I think maybe Lydia, and this lady turned around, and I was starting to cry. I was like, I already know, because we were starting to like call in this baby. We knew what date we were going to conceive her. We knew we were going into all of we had a lot of intention around conceiving Sage. I didn't want to make a plan, because I don't believe in making plans. I never go to any plan that I ever make. But I knew and could feel that this baby was going to be born completely outside the system. And it was like my whole body trusted it, but my mind didn't shut the fuck up. Like it didn't shut the fuck up from before I even conceived her. And I remember just telling the girls about some of my fears. And this lady turned around. I still follow her on Instagram. Actually, I should get her on the podcast. She turned around and she says, like, rather than running from the fear, face it, like, picture it and sit with it. And I did exactly that throughout my pregnancy with Sage. And up until about 36 weeks, I went into like I think it's pronounced prodromal labor, where your body is basically preparing for labor. And it was like 2 weeks of it. My mucus plug broke at 36 weeks. So then I went into the fear of like, okay, am I going to have another preterm baby? Am I going to have to take her into hospital? Like, am I going to have to make the choice of going into hospital or whatever? And so I guess Another thing that I decided to do was not tell anyone about my fears and keep them to myself, because I was like, in society, no one trusts birth. And who you share your fears to can really fuck with your head, because your body can tell you you're okay, just trust. But your mind, when that turns on, and something have had to say, I've had to say to myself, your mind just has to take a back seat. And when your mind turns on, it's like you need to thank it. Like, thank you for trying to keep me safe, but I am safe and I do trust. So it's like a really mind body game. And I never forget hearing these statistics of how we're even in this conversation right now, we're only 5% aware of our conscious, where 95% of us is all unconscious. So it was just like, right, remembering that my body is running and it can run by itself without my mind telling it to do anything. Like, you don't need anyone to tell you how to have an orgasm. You don't need to tell anyone how to do a poo. Like, your body would just do it for you, as will childbirth. The other role in the mind is just getting out of the mind. And in our society, we're so worried about what other people think of us, and what if we take responsibility, and what if we actually the most fearful part, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, it is, and you're absolutely right, because we are like, we can't, and that's the thing as well. I can't say, oh, don't be fearful, and that's why I always do I practice this, like the fear release, a lot do you know what I mean, at least twice in my hypnobirthing course. I really do, because it's such a good exercise, and it's really stop running away from it, don't hide it, because it's going to, whether you push it away, you push it away, you push it away, it's still going to come back. And the more you push it away, the more that fear is going to come in, I feel. So that's why you really have to, like, sit with it. And as you say, thank it. Yep, thanks for trying to keep me safe, but like, and just trusting in your body, and just knowing that the mind, yeah, it is. And that's, again, where hypnosis really, really helps, because it is, the mind just can go, completely spiral. It is. And especially when we've had these experiences before, we have a lot of couples come who have had very traumatic births previously. And this, obviously, it comes up a lot as well. And I've had couples in my classes who have, like, unfortunately, they've had like stillbirths and things, and they find, like, once they've done like the hypnobirthing course, they were like, that helped us, because it brought, of course it was going to bring that stuff up again. It's kind of giving me goosebumps talking about it, actually. And what they'd been through. And I remember, like, at the end of the course, they were just like, thank you so much. And yeah, it was really good to help, to know that that really helped them with that birth. And yeah, they went on to have like their healthy baby boy, and it was lovely. But for them to really, I guess, have that awful thing of what they've experienced, but again, bringing up those fears, and it was bringing up that again, and of course it's going to be very triggering. But then knowing that birth can also be very healing as well, I really feel like this birth that they had with their boy really helped them, from their previous loss. So it's really empowering, and it's what I'm so glad as well that women, or not just women, like the men as well, get to experience that healing from, like, to experience like the way that birth, intended for them. So it's nice to know that.
What a beautiful story. So, Kylie, what is your thoughts on due dates?
Due dates. Ugh. So, okay, you just say, oh, it is, we get so caught up in this due date. So it's basically, again, like, where we get like the word, like, where we get this like calculation. Now, we'll look into this a bit further as well, but like, this is the information I have, so like, maybe like fact check it as well. But there's the Nagel rule, and basically what that is they take the from where you're so when you're pregnant, they calculate it from your last period, the date of your last period. But that's if you have like a regular cycle. That's if you like ovulate do you know what I mean, at 14 days, and that's if you like you had the baby, like, you conceived on the 14th day, so on the day that you ovulate. So they take it into that's all they take into calculation. They don't take into whether you ovulated at day 10 or at day 16 or at day 18. Women don't all have regular cycles a lot of the time. So it's a kind of old way that they do this, like calculating the due date. So I always say to my hypnobirthing couples, just don't go like with the due date, take it as like the due month because we can go into, I know you get like your obviously your preterm births, like what you experience, but like when we have like the due date, it's at 38 weeks. And depending on your gestational time, some people go naturally up to 42 weeks, you know? So just because you have this due date and you're overdue, I feel like it's a lot of nonsense, honestly, and we get so caught up in it. And again, I feel like it's another way that we've medicalized birth. It's like, oh, you're past your duty, so therefore you need to be induced. And this goes back again then to being that like speaking up in like the medical system and really having your birth partner and being careful who you're taking into your, you know, your birth part, like your birth room with you and how they are, like how they see birth and everything as well. And to making sure that they are able to advocate for you as well. Because what will happen is, as we said, a lot of terminology will get thrown around us. So 43%, there's a study done, it was a Mothers and Baby Report in 2024, and in Australia, an overall of 43% of first-time mothers were being induced. So it's like 43% of women are in first-time mums aren't getting to experience, you know, like labour coming along naturally. So that, and only a third of them were induced before like the 41 weeks. So what will happen with that is they will talk about, they'll throw in like, if you go over between 40 and 41 weeks, your chances of stillbirth will double. So that's what they will threaten you with as well, is if you, so you go over 38 weeks and then they'll start using like, you know, like saying the stillbirth thing. And they will say your chances of stillbirth will double. Now, yes, as though there is like facts that they do go, you know what I mean, like the chances will double. However, it's not doubling as in like 5 to then 10. It goes from a chance of 6 in 10,000. Okay, so that's 6 in 10,000. And then if you go over 41 weeks, it goes up to 10 babies in 10,000. But they're making you feel like absolutely terrified because they're saying, yeah, they're throwing this like the dead baby card, as we say. So it's just being able to look into that as well and just really knowing that every woman is different, you know, again, like going back onto their cycles, like when they conceived, everything. So going to this due date, yeah, it really, for me, I'm like, please just forget about what the due date is. Don't get caught up in it because very rarely a baby comes on their due date as well. So it's really like feeling again, like empowered by standing by and knowing like, yep, everything is okay. And just, yeah, going along when your baby decides. I always believe your baby will pick when they're born, when they choose to come along. Absolutely. And it's just, I feel like as well with the due dates and things too, or inductions, it will happen when the hospital wants it to happen. You'll very rarely be taken in to be induced, do you know what I mean? Like on a public holiday, you know, or anything like that. There's always like timing on they'll have staff on or whether or not the doctor's going out for a golf game or has a family event on that weekend. Again, going back to like you're just a number in the medical system.
I just shared yesterday on Instagram um, uh, a woman, her name's Yolanda, and she does a lot of work with Emily from Free Birth Society. And I follow her on Instagram, and she's pregnant with her 11th child. She's
Wow.
44 years old, and she said 9 out of 10 of her babies have all gone to gestation of 44 weeks and no scans, no tests, no inductions, no, and all born at home just with the siblings and their father. So I think that's just a
Wow.
testimony in itself of a woman just being so trusting of her body. So coming back to
Absolutely.
you though, can hypnobirthing still be helpful in inductions and cesareans if that is just a woman's choice?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely it is. And again, it should be down to the woman's choice. So I'm not here to be like, oh, you shouldn't do this or that. It's not my job. That's not what I do in hypnobirthing. We basically just show you, here are the tools, here's the information. Take this, what resonates with you, what doesn't resonate with you, you don't need to take it on, you know? Just like pick what you like and see what works for you. Absolutely, you can have a hypnobirth whether you're having induction. We will just talk about the different ways on how we can speak to the medical system about it. So you will have going through like the lists of like what are the benefits of this induction, the risks, like we go through all of that. We'll basically help the couples like decide like what form of like induction it is that they like would require. Like if it's the drip, like the fake oxytocin drip, just having it like not as much being put in altogether, just having it gently and slowly released. So giving like the mother time to slowly build up those surges. You can absolutely have a hypnobirth with a C-section as well, as it goes back to like it's talking about like the baby being born into a calm and safe environment. So we will have like with a C-section with dim lights, nice music playing, low, low chatting, like nothing, no like big bright lights, anything like that, just so it's nice and calm. So this baby is born into a nice calm environment. So you can have a free birth, or you can have a C-section, you can have whatever you want, whatever birth, whatever birth you choose to have, you can absolutely have hypnobirthing with that. Absolutely.
So, what are some tips on how to have hypnobirthing in a C-section?
Well, with it, the hypnobirthing with a C-section, we would say still doing like your nice calm hypnosises that we teach, having everything there, having like your birth partner there with you, and we can ask for them, like to lower the screen so you can see the baby being born as well, having that skin to skin straight away, having that delayed cord clamping. And just having that time, like time together, just making sure the baby, is going like straight there, like on the chest. And vaginal seeding, so that's when they get a swab and then they just like have that on the baby's face, so the baby's getting all the bacteria that they would need to get as if they've gone through like the birth canal. So yep, that's like some of our tips that we have, have there for that.
So, what if because I know we have a friend in our circle who had a cesarean and in Mandurah, and when she asked to have the seeding, and they said that they don't do it there, and she also asked for delayed cord clamping, and they also wouldn't allow that. So, I'm not sure if she's ever done hypnobirthing, but for somebody that also wants to do that, and then they're saying no, we don't do that. What do you do then?
So that, yeah, and this is a tricky one, and I will be completely honest, because there's some places where that is just not their like their policy. So you really need, this is again going back to like your care provider and where you're going. You need to ask all these questions, like before, obviously, like can we have this? Can we have not? And then you need to see like why it is. Is that because it's like their hospital policy? Because each different hospital, like has different policies and procedures. So some places do it and then some places don't. It really just depends on where you're going, unfortunately. Even WA is so different from Victoria, like even there, honestly, everything is in all these different places. It's completely different. It's completely different everywhere. So that's why it's always to make sure where you are. Yeah.
So, what tools do you give partners to help them feel more confident and involved?
So and this is what I love about hypnobirthing as well, because it really helps the birth partner there be like an integral part of it, not just like a bystander, as I said before. So having them be heavily involved with like helping like their partner with like birth positions, making sure that they're like moving around, making sure that the like what music, if you want music playing, for example, having your nice music playing, having the lights all dimmed, having like the shower running, like for like if they want like the shower on, helping them get into like the birth pool if they choose to have like a water birth, making sure that no one is coming into that room unnecessarily. Like you just want minimum people as possible. Just really they're the guardian of the birth space. So helping them like nice massaging that we teach like in hypnobirthing as well, acupressure points, helping them as well, like with like saying like their affirmations, helping them like mum with their breathing, like bringing them back, really anchoring them in, helping them feel empowered, really making sure that they're like hydrated, that they're going, do you know what I mean? That the mum is going to the bathroom and like emptying her bladder, like when necessary. And they are really there to properly advocate for them, because there's this way of being like, oh, I could advocate for myself. when you're giving birth, you're not able, I really feel like you're not able to really have that, as we talk about, like the neocortex, like everything, like that part of your brain, you're not really there, you're in this different place. So for you to be able to fully advocate for yourself during labor it's not fair and it shouldn't be expected. So that's why we really need to have our birth partner being there and educated and supporting us and making sure that we go through this like through the weeks as well, just making sure that you and your birth partner are both on the same page. You absolutely need to make sure that they are 100% on board with your wishes and what you want, and they're not going to be swayed by any like scary words by the medical system. I also ask, like, I say to my clients, look at their birth stories. How do they feel about birth? Like what was their story like, and are they like, do they feel strong enough to stand up in there to the medical system if there's things being said to them like unnecessarily, and it's just having them to really be, yeah, a part of that birth process as well. And this is where like I'll quickly talk about like another I held a class, like a birth breathing class not long ago. And there was a girl in there, and she's having her friend come in with her as her birth partner. And I tell you what, she was absolutely incredible. Like, I would love that girl to be my birth partner as well. And there's something in that as well. I feel like talking about, like the alpha male and the men in today's society, like, I really feel like as women, I feel like we should go back to that way. Like it should, I feel like obviously you have your birth partner there if they make you feel safe, but I feel like we should have like a woman, a female in there with us as well, because that birth partner, like she was incredible. She'd had a VBAC with one of her babies, and I was like, yeah, she knew her stuff, and it was just really good to see. And I was like, yep, I love that for everyone to have a birth partner like that. Just have, yeah, it just should be amazing.
My best friend had her sister as her birth partner, and yeah, she was like, I'll have her there forever. Like, it was just the best. And this brings me back to our park when we were in the park that day. So we were in the park, you and I, one day, and I said to you, have you noticed in this, from what you teach, because obviously you teach a lot about birth, for birth partners, and you bring a lot together, which I don't doubt is amazing. Like, I took Izzy along with me to do hypnobirthing when we were pregnant with Ziggy, and he dreaded going. And then when we came out of it, it was 3 days. So 2 days over one weekend, and the following weekend was another day. And he came out of that, and he was like, that was so good. He was like the best woo woo thing I've ever made him do. Actually, it's not even a woo woo thing, but in his view, he would call it a woo woo thing. And he
Absolutely, yeah.
loved it. He got so much out of it. But I spoke to you because I said we've still birthed at home, and then even when we transferred into hospital with Ziggy, when we noticed she needed medical assistance, we transferred into the hospital, and even then it was still up to me to advocate. And he wasn't like, I personally just don't know. And I asked you whether or not we think men actually are supposed to be in the birthplace. And you went off and thought about it. Because I was like, coming to the masculine and feminine, like us women, we're a lot more masculine led these days, and we're a lot more of the leaders and stuff. And as much as I love that, I also think we've really like taken the throne away from men. But I've also had another thought, right? So, and I haven't spoken to you about this yet. The other day, I was talking to Izzy about this as we were driving, and I said to him, "Look, I can't help but to see that we need to try to teach men to be this advocate, but yet at home, like the woman is the leader of like majority of the time of the babies, right? They kind of be like, oh, look, I'm looking into this. Like for me and how we raise our babies, like Izzy is the provider. Like we're very traditional in the terms of like he's a provider, he makes the money, he trusts me and where we spend it. But I'm the caregiver of the home, and I'm the caregiver of the children. And what goes into their body, like if I were to die, he wouldn't know what to do. Like there's still a role I play in terms of the health of our kids. And I don't believe that's anything wrong with him whatsoever. I think me and him have our roles, and we work so well because we take the role and responsibility of what we have in the home very seriously. Coming into a little bit of a side thing is that I have had to step back from being in in my masculine to allow him to do his thing and go, okay, this is where I'm needed at this point in time of our lives. And I have had to take a step back from somewhere. But anyway, I said to him in the car the other day exactly what I said to you at the park about, do you actually think men have what it takes to be an advocate? Because a lot of women are coming out of birth and they're then having resentment for their partner because the provider, like for him to like gatekeep the door and like there's a man coming in being like, well, no, like I need to check on your wife. Her blood pressure just went up. This screen says this. Of course a man's going to go fuck do anything to save my wife. Like I'm seeing
Yes.
her in pain. I'm seeing her hurt. So that's when I said to you, do you actually think, and you went away and thought of it, but I actually brought it to him when we're driving. I said, because I can't help it to feel like we're putting an unrealistic expectation on men because like we have just said, men have only been in the birth space for the last 100 years. So again, coming out of that 5% conscious mind and the 95% into the subconscious, men aren't supposed to be serving women in this space. Women are supposed to be serving women. And I just don't know if I believe that it's a right expectation to be putting on men. I get it's just a society, right? We have to do what we can do. But I asked him, I said, do you feel like you would be able to advocate for me in hospital? And he was like, fuck no. And I was like, and Izzy is the best birth partner. Like him at home, he serves me. But the thing is, this is where the midwifery comes into it, right? It's like midwives say they are there to serve women, but people under the system, they're serving the system. They're serving their policies, procedures. If a woman says, I don't want that, they're legally bounded by the government. So this is why so many midwives are deregistering themselves because they are seeing the correlation between, well, actually, I signed up to serve women, but I'm actually on a puppet string and I'm serving the government instead. So this brings me back to serving of women. I know that in that space, women know what they want and what they need. When in tune with their gut and their intuition, so out of the head and in their body, they know what they need. And this is what I love about the Free Birth Society course and any other woman I know that has been in the system and deregistered themselves. They trust so much of what the woman says that they need. And even Izzy in that time, like he's in full service of me. He's just there, he's just holding me ready for me to give him his next thing. And I might just say, like in his ear, like water, like, and he's like water, like shower. Like I might just or he's just pouring water over my back. But Izzy is the best birth partner I could have ever imagined. He is so entrusted to me and he is so in service to me. But when I asked him the other day, could you do that in hospital? He said no. So
No.
I answered my own thoughts and questions around, I don't even know if it's in this society, because when I asked you in the part, do you think it's from this society, like the masculine woman, like the women tend to be more led. And then I dove a little bit further and I was like, are men supposed to be in birth? And I couldn't, and you know what, actually, in the weeks leading up to Sage's birth, I was like, all I crave is like my best friends, like my two best friends, Narita and Kat. I just craved their presence. I was like, I just want women. It's like when I started to really picture like the perfect birth, I was like, oh my goodness, imagine just giving birth and they're in the kitchen cooking and I can
Yeah.
smell the aromas of what I'm going to eat after I've given this birth to this baby and I'm going to get into bed and I'm going to have it. And then I was like, right, but it's society now. We don't have that. And to me, I hate putting people out. So I was like, I can't ask Kat to be here. Like she would have to organize a babysitter. And then I think of the cause and effect of like, she would have to then, like, what if her partner then had to have the day off work? And how long would I take? What if I took up all their time? And then I go, no, I'm too much of an inconvenience. I don't want to inconvenience anybody. But my best friend Nuzzy ended up being here and it was so beautiful. And then we had the meal train of my whole community come, including yourself,
Yay.
who came and served me meals. And then it was just like that feminine feeling. But unfortunately, most people are craving it, but they also don't want specific friends or family. And this has been me as well. Like, I don't want other people who don't trust me. I don't want other people who are more on the puppet string than they are of me. You have to be in complete fucking service to me and no fears and bring in anything because I feel that. And I think as women, we're very intuitive, and yet we can feel when something's off with somebody else's energy. Yet the mind comes on and it's like, oh no, that they're okay, or they just want the best for you, or no, they're just like no,
Yeah.
that energy needs to be gone.
That's why it's important, like definitely like craving that, like that feminine energy around you, but then like picking obviously who that is. Like I feel like next time if we have another one, I would love to have like another female and do you know what I mean, like a female friend there with me. But I remember like with my birth to Xander, my mum wanted to be there. And God, I love my mum with all my being, but I didn't want my mum to be in there because I knew that I would resort back to the little girl Kylie. I wouldn't have been empowered. And that's nothing bad. That's just that my mum would have been scared for me, seeing me in pain. Oh no, you can't. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't do it. It's all right. You're okay. Take the epidural, take, you know what I mean, do whatever. And I wouldn't have been empowered and I wouldn't have had that empowering birth that I had. So that's why, again, like, it is always to make sure who that partner is there, who you have in your birth space is so important. And absolutely, when we speak about, I still think about that question, Ebony, honestly. And it's like, I feel like hypnobirthing absolutely helps. I feel like any birth education helps. And I highly encourage the partners to come to every session or do some form of birth education, because that's what happens when they're in a medical setting, not at home, and other authoritative figures are coming in there and telling them what to do. I feel like most men would stand back and allow it. And I don't think that's anything against anyone. I just feel like that's just what would happen. Yeah, I do. So that's why they need to do birth education.
What if a woman's listening to this and their partner's not on board on learning, but yet they're like, no, I don't want to do the home birth. They want the hospital birth, and the partner's like, okay, well, can you come and learn some things with me? And then what if the partner's not on board?
Yeah, that's like an unfortunate thing, isn't it? Because you really feel like a partner should be there for, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, for them. And oh my goodness, what would I say? I would just keep on trying to like encourage them, like get them, if they're not going to go to say like a class, say they're not going to come to the 5 weeks of hypnobirthing, at least get to listen to some podcasts. At least I would be like writing up like my facts, like look at this, like this happens like in hospital, like the percentage in like birthing at home. I'd get them to listen to, again, as I say, and it always says, like, even if you're not planning a free birth, listen to those free birth podcasts. Listen to the Great Birth Podcast Rebellion. Give them stuff to read. If they're not going to come to a class or do a course, they should at least be listening to some podcasts or reading a book or doing something. Like, I feel like it's their duty as a partner. It's a partnership. Like, you should be there for your partner. Absolutely. It shouldn't be all on the woman to be doing everything. Like, yeah, I don't think that's fair.
Common. I'd be like, okay, don't be there then. Whatever.
Don't be,
Don't
if you
need you
don't be there,
anyway.
get your friend. Get,
I always say the only thing you need to have a baby is a vagina and a baby. Anyway, so what's one message you wish every woman knew about her body and birth?
that she is incredible and that she's more powerful than she ever knows. As I said before, motherfucking goddess, and that you should really learn to just trust and surrender and just know how amazing that you absolutely are, and you can have the birth that you desire and that you so wish for, that you deserve, that like it's a rite of passage. And for me, every woman should experience birth in a most profound, liberating way. That's like my one wish for everyone. Like,
Thanks,
yeah.
Kylie. Is there
Well,
anything else you want to touch on before we
no, I
before we
don't
say
think so.
goodbye?
Just like
We covered everything.
thank you so thank you so much for having me. It's been like amazing. It's my first podcast. And yeah, thank you so much.
You're
Yay.
welcome. So where can people find you?
Yeah, so people can find me. So I'm on Instagram. I'm at underscore just be Zen baby. I also hold my classes at Blossom and Bump. So I hold my group classes, my hypnobirthing and my baby massage there. And I also do one-to-one sessions as well, and online. So I go to people's homes, and then I also do stuff online as well. So yes, that's where they can find me.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Take care.